y'all, welcome back to my channel. It's Marissa Explains It All. Today I am showing you guys how to make one of the latest crazes this winter, and that is these hot cocoa bombs. They are so cute and so delicious, and there are so many different variations and ways that you can decorate them. I am in love, and I am a complete chocoholic, so this is the perfect dessert for me. I feel like these got really popular this year, and I've seen a lot of different variations, and that's the beauty of these. You can make them with regular chocolate, white chocolate. You can put all kinds of things inside them, like cinnamon, or if you wanted to do like a Mexican hot chocolate kind of feel, or even like cayenne pepper if you wanted like a little spice with your hot cocoa. Of course, you can put the traditional marshmallows and things. So I'm going to show you guys how I make mine. I'm just going to keep it pretty simple for the purpose of today, but just know that the sky is the limit when it comes to what you can put inside. And these are really fun to make with kids as well. So if you're looking for a fun kid-friendly activity that you can make with your kids over the holiday, this is a really great option. So without further ado, let's get into it. So the first thing you'll need are these silicone molds. These are half sphere molds. They are just like a half circle, and when you put them together, they of course make the whole bomb, and they are made of silicone. And this is going to be probably the hardest thing I think for you to find locally. I could not find these in my local Michael's and Joann. They were actually sold out. So I think that due to the popularity this year, you know, you might get lucky and find them. They do sell them at your local stores, but I had a hard time finding them in mine, and they didn't have them at my Walmart either. So I did have to buy these online, and of course I'll put a link to where I found mine on Amazon, but these were roughly 2 inches. They're a little under 2 inches, so if you wanted a bigger bomb, you certainly can buy bigger ones, but I didn't want it to be too big to where it didn't fit inside my mug. And so I do have regular sized coffee mugs. I don't really have oversized mugs, and so I wanted to make sure that it kind of fits. So the next thing I'll need is some good quality chocolate. And so I did pick up a couple different kinds of Ghirardelli premium baking chips. I got white chocolate and then milk chocolate. Of course, I've already broken into the milk chocolate because they're too delicious not to. But you want to get a nice quality chocolate just so the taste is better, and you want to look for something that actually has cocoa butter in it. They do sell melting wafers like Merckens brand if you wanted to pick those up from Amazon, or if you can find them locally. But these were what were available at my local store. And you can also use candy melts. Candy melts don't turn out maybe, you know, as rich or as good of a quality flavor, but these are really handy because they come in all different colors. So if you're looking for a colored one with bright colors, go ahead and pick up some candy melts. The next thing you'll need are the ingredients to go inside, and I like to go really simple and just buy like Swiss Miss hot chocolate mix. I'm just using a chocolate, you know, flavored powder here, and then they actually started selling this Swiss Miss white chocolate. So for my white chocolate one, I'm going to use this one here. I found this one at my local grocery store. So hopefully you can find this if you're looking for white chocolate. You'll also need any extras that you want to put in. And so I've got my candy canes here. So I'm going to make a peppermint flavored one. And then of course marshmallows, the classic, are also already broken into these for my hot cocoa. So marshmallows and anything else you want to put inside. If you wanted to put cinnamon inside, or any kind of like salted caramel or anything like that, any kind of flavors that you find, and there are recipes for these online, just anything else that you want to put inside besides your hot cocoa base. Next up, you'll want something to decorate your bombs with, and something to put inside. If you like the idea of putting sprinkles inside, you can certainly do that. Of course, I'm doing some Christmas themed ones here, but you can put anything you want inside. The sprinkles always add like a fun flavor. And lastly, you'll need these little baking cups to put your bombs in when they're all kind of done, and just sit them in. It's just a nice presentation to have them in here. For a bigger mold, you can actually have them sitting in a regular size, just cupcake liner. But for this size mold, I am using these mini cupcake liners because these, I found that they kind of fit really nicely inside this mini size. So that's it for ingredients. But then in terms of tools, it'll be helpful to have a baking sheet ready for you to sit your silicone molds on top and put those in the freezer. So these are kind of make it nice and easy to carry portably. And then I do also use these food safe gloves because when you're handling chocolate, a lot of times the heat from your hands will melt it. So I recommend using these gloves, especially if you're making these for someone else. It's always nice to know that they've you know, used gloves. And of course you'll need bowls and spoons for stirring and melting the chocolate. That's it for now. Let's get started with assembly. So I'm going to start with the classic milk chocolate first. You're really only trying to fill just the outer cavity here, the outer mold, so you don't really need to fill it, you just kind of need to coat it. So go ahead and pour your chocolate in, just to make sure I have enough by starting with this amount. And go ahead and put this in the microwave for 30 seconds at a time until it is melted. After the first 30 seconds, I can see there's a little bit of melting on the bottom here, but it is not enough to where I can stir it. So I'm just gonna do one more 30-second run. After the second run, they're much softer. They actually have retained their shape, but when you go to actually stir them, they should melt pretty well. There might be a couple of, like lumps left in there and kind of just unmelted pieces of chocolate, but continue to stir because the heat from the bowl will actually continue to melt this, and the heat from the chocolate. You don't want to scorch your chocolate, because once it kind of turns gritty and grainy and seizes up, then your chocolate is no good. You have to start over. You're gonna have to start over, so that's not good. So I had started out with some lumps here, but as you can see, it's actually starting to melt everything, and it looks pretty smooth to me. So I think we are good to go and ready to put in the mold. So to put it in your mold, this is going to be slightly messy, so I do kind of grab my baking sheet and put it underneath my silicone molds, just in case there are any drips to kind of catch underneath. You don't need much in each one, so I'm just putting like a tiny, maybe like a teaspoon to a tablespoon kind of range in each one, and just start spooning them in. Some people actually will pour it in, and it's a little bit messier this way. If you just kind of pour a little bit in and then keep going, it'll kind of get all over your mold. That's okay. And it looks like the amount that I put in, a little over 3 ounces maybe, was perfect for what I needed, so that is great. That is the amount that worked out. So once you have them in your molds, go ahead and take a spoon or a clean pastry brush and start to just coat the edges. And so what you're looking for is a nice thick coating. You can just run your spoon around there, and what you don't want is any spots where they might show through. And so if you can kind of see, this one has this little spot right here that has like a little, you can kind of see through it. You definitely don't want that. So you want it to be thick enough to where you're not seeing any spots through here. I just kind of run it around the corner. And then also make sure that you're running the chocolate all the way up to the edge, because if you don't run it all the way up to the top of the rim, then you will not have like a nice flat surface for the other half of the sphere to stick. And so make sure it's run up all the way to the edge and doesn't have any any gaps. So this one's looking okay, and they don't have to be perfectly smooth inside. The silicone mold really helps make the outside look clean, and so you don't really need to worry too much about what the inside looks like, as long as it's covered from edge to edge and there are no bare spots inside when you kind of hold it up. And there's no need to spray the silicone pan with anything. The silicone will release the chocolate on its own. Now if you have a lot of chocolate in your mold, you can actually dump out the excess. Some people will do that. They'll kind of tip it upside down and shake it and make sure that there's no excess chocolate. I didn't put a lot in each one on purpose because I didn't want to have a lot of extra chocolate to be able to shake out. So I think the amount that I used was probably perfect and doesn't need to be kind of shaken out. But you might see in some tutorials that people will shake out the excess. So what I like to do actually is to help some of these edges kind of clean them up with just a wet paper towel. So I'm going to grab myself a little water and just kind of start wiping away some of the edges. You can use your finger for this process if you want. It makes it easier when you're going to do your mold, just to kind of clean up some of the edges. And it doesn't have to be super clean all over the mold, but just at the very outer edge here, the outer rim. So next up, let's pop these into the fridge for about 4 to 5 minutes. While I'm waiting, I'm going to go ahead and decide what I want to put inside of my hot cocoa bombs. I am actually going to do a chocolate, just a classic chocolate in some of them, chocolate and marshmallows and some sprinkles, and then I'm going to do some candy canes and some. So I'm going to take out one of my envelopes here, my hot cocoa mix, and then I'm going to go ahead and crush up some candy cane. I'll probably crush up a couple of these, and I just like to keep them in the bags. I actually like to get them already wrapped like this so that they're nice and easily contained, and then you can take a little rolling pin and kind of crush them up, or even a cup will work to crush them. And there you have very easy candy cane bits. And I'm going to go ahead and prep my hot cocoa mix, get that opened up. So as your bombs are in the fridge or the freezer, you can also use them in the freezer for a few minutes. Take a plate that is like porcelain or ceramic or something like that, something that you can heat up, and heat this up for a minute right before you pull the bombs out. Go ahead and heat this up for a minute to a minute and a half. Always obviously be careful, it'll be a little bit hot, but you want it to be warm enough to kind of melt the rim of our chocolate. And this is where it's really handy to have gloves, because the heat from your hands will melt the chocolate. So here is what they look like. So they have that nice, they've kind of lost their shine to it, so it looks like they set up nicely. So I'm gonna go ahead and start popping these out. And the key to using these is to kind of peel the mold back from the chocolate and not press too much on the chocolate itself. So I'm just going to kind of gently press up on the bottom of this and let the mold release it. So there's, there's the first sphere. And go ahead and continue this process around. Now here's a good example of where I did not place the chocolate thick enough and it didn't get up to the edge. So you can see what happens when the chocolate doesn't get up to the edge. It has this jaggedness to it. So this one is a dud. I would suggest making more than you need just for this purpose, because you will have some that don't turn out quite right. And so you'll want to make sure that you're making more than you need, especially if you're giving it as a gift. Make sure you make plenty extra. Okay, so I've got my hot plate here, fresh out of the microwave, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take each of these cocoa bombs and try to get rid of some of this jagged edge. And so you kind of want to work with it quickly, because as you can see, I just kind of handled it a little bit, and it just leaves fingerprints and marks in it if you handle it too long. And so even with the gloves, this one is another dud because it's already kind of melted off in my hands as I'm just sitting here talking. So it does melt fairly quickly. It can help to run your hands under cool water, or even to just kind of put them in the fridge just for a second, and then make sure you're not handling them for too long at one time. So grab the edge and then run it just briefly across the edge of your plate, and to get this nice smooth edge, and then we're going to put it back. Alternatively, you could actually also use an ice pack. So if you wanted to kind of ice your fingers and kind of keep an ice pack here, keep your fingers kind of cool. So I'm just melting the edge here to get a nice smooth surface, and then I am going to start filling. And I'm just icing my fingers in between. I've washed my plate, and I'm actually going to put it back in the microwave for another 30 seconds to get it hot again, because we're going to want to seal these halves together in a minute, and I want to make sure we have a nice hot plate for that process as well. So each bomb actually calls for 1 teaspoon of powder, and if you like a lot of chocolate, you can certainly put more in, but some of the chocolate will come from the actual chocolate itself, the chocolate coating. So try to get a teaspoon in there. The molds that I bought are small, and so I don't know that I'll be able to fit a whole lot in there with them. So just keep that in mind. Don't overfill them too much, because then you won't have the ability to fill them with anything else. And if at any point your chocolate starts to get a little bit soft, especially if you're in a hot kitchen, if you keep your house really warm and see how these are like really bendy, go ahead and just put them back in the fridge for a couple minutes just to set up so that they are not just falling apart. Next is the fun part again, so start decorating with whatever you'd like. A couple of these I'm just gonna put some mini marshmallows in, and some of them I can actually put my crushed candy cane in. So if you like your peppermint mocha, we'll put some crushed candy cane in some of those. And then of course, the sprinkles are always a fun touch as well. And so I'm just going to dump some Christmas themed sprinkles into a couple of these. So this is a good place to go ahead and set these aside and grab your hot plate, because we're now going to seal them up. So again, just keeping your fingers nice and cool with your ice pack. Go ahead and start taking one of the empty shells and run it across your hot plate just to melt it slightly. And then you're going to quickly place it on top, and you can kind of just press in a little bit to seam the edges, and then set it back on your plate. Now it's time to decorate your bombs. So I've just transferred them to a clean plate here. So I've melted a little bit more chocolate here, and you can do several things to kind of, make it look really festive. But I'm gonna start just with placing some of this chocolate into a piping bag. And you can also put this into, I have just a piping bag with a Wilton No. 3 tip on here. But if you don't have a piping bag, or You obviously don't need to do this step. You can just use a plastic Ziploc bag with a hole cut in the outer edge. And then I'm going to just kind of take and drizzle a couple of them. I'm just gonna drizzle across the top here with a nice steady pressure. And so I've got that. And then I'm gonna go ahead and add some of my sprinkles to the top of this one while the chocolate is still not set. These go everywhere. These little sugar pearls go everywhere. So there's one. That's what that looks like. It is cute, it's nice and festive. And then I'm just gonna place it into one of these little mini cupcake liners that I have prepared already for it. So it's like a nice little presentation. And you can decorate these however you like. Some people actually like to decorate the outside edge, the seam. And so if you hold it on the top and the bottom and you actually pipe a little line around the edge of your seam, you can then dip it into something different, some kind of different sprinkle. I'm just gonna kind of take my sprinkles and dump them along the outer edge here to make it stick to the rim. And some people like to do that to hide like an ugly seam, and that's what that looks like. And we'll do some more holly berries on this one as well. So I have like a nice little Christmas theme going on. And then if you wanted a contrast, you could also melt white chocolate. I went ahead and melted some white chocolate, and I'm just gonna place that into a second pastry bag. And you can certainly pipe these with some white chocolate as well. Just a nice drizzle back and forth. And that gives just a nice, like, professional kind of a clean look. So that's what that one looks like. It looks pretty good. And then, of course, if you had any kind of edible glitter, you can certainly break that out. It's really up to you. And this is where the kids kind of take over and have fun with the design. And this is our finished product for the milk chocolate. So these are ready for dropping into the milk. So let's go ahead and do the white chocolate. I've gone ahead and broken open my Ghirardelli white chocolate baking chips, and I put those into just a little bowl here that I used to melt for my piping bag, and just microwave this until it is ready and melted. Okay, this is looking a lot better. As I'm stirring it, it is getting nice and smooth without being super hot. And I'm just gonna make one tray of this white chocolate just for demonstration purposes. I think you've already kind of seen the process once, but so I don't think I need to make both of them this time, especially because I am more of a milk chocolate kind of girl, so I don't know that these will really get eaten as much. And then pop these into the fridge or freezer for a few minutes. While that's freezing, I'm gonna go ahead and take my candy melts and dump those out and microwave those. And I've gone ahead and stirred my candy melts until they are nice and smooth. So I'm gonna do the same process and just start placing my chocolate into the baking silicone mold. I do just kind of clean up just the very outer bit of the rim here, and then it is ready to also go in the freezer. And so let's go ahead and release these from the mold. So again, just running the rim of the chocolate over the hot plate just to get a nice clean edge. All right, so to fill, I've gotten a nice cold plate, so it's actually not the same plate as the hot one, so it won't melt the bottom of the chocolate, of course. I did find that I have more success with the white chocolate. It's not leaving as many fingerprints for some reason. It doesn't really seem to melt as quickly. So I don't know why, but I've had more success with the white chocolate. So again, just taking my hot cocoa mix here, we're gonna go ahead and fill these with the white hot chocolate, and I'm putting in roughly a teaspoon. If you can fit more in yours, that's great. I'm not able to fit much more into mine with all the other things that I wanted to put in. And so I do want to put in some crushed candy cane peppermint in one of mine, and then I'll probably just fill marshmallows in one, and then I'll do some fun sprinkles, maybe some holly berry sprinkles in the other. And there you have it. Let's go ahead and grab my hot plate, and then I'll seam these up. And I'm just going to take one side here, melt down a little bit till it starts to melt, and then place them together and seam up the edge a little bit. Make sure you press down and get it nice and sealed, and then place your bomb into a ready and waiting mini cupcake liner. So there you have your 3 bombs. Let's go ahead and decorate. I melted some white chocolate and put it in a pastry bag here. So I think for the first one, this is my peppermint one, I'm going to run a few drizzles across the top here, and then I'm going to take some crushed candy cane and place this on the top. So this will be a crushed peppermint bomb. And I think I'll do the same with another one. I will go ahead and put some drizzle on top, and then maybe some kind of festive sprinkles. Some red and green sprinkles will be nice. These are the ones that bounce everywhere. My cat always finds these all over the floor. So that's what that one looks like. And then I think we'll probably keep it simple with the last one and just put a little dollop on top. And then I'm gonna grab some of my holly sprigs. And there you just have like a nice little simple holly sprig on top. Kind of cute and more simplistic. I like it. So there you have the final product of our white hot cocoa bombs, which is still simple candy cane and Christmas sprinkles. So these are ready to go. And here we are with the red candy melts. So again, just gonna pop these out of the mold. Again, just working around to make sure you get a nice clean edge on each one of your bombs. So do like a white chocolate mocha, and then we'll do a regular chocolate mocha. And there you have it. That's the third one. Now it's time to decorate. So for the first one, I'm just taking a chocolate drizzle. Kind of had to remelt my chocolate just a little bit. This one looks like it's starting to get a little bit cold on me, but you can kind of remelt your chocolate. A nice simple drizzle there. And then for the second one, I think I'm gonna do a candy cane, and I will do like a little swirl pattern. And then this is my candy cane one, so we will dump some candy cane on that one. And last but not least, we'll go ahead and do a drizzle on this one and use some sprinkles, some Christmas sprinkles. I went ahead and put a little bit of an edible glitter on this one, and now you can kind of get an example of how it shines. So you can, of course, get these in several different colors, but I just happen to have this color on hand. But this is our final product. This is our little menagerie of hot cocoa bombs. Now let's see how these perform when they are dropped in some nice hot milk. So that is it. As you can see, they are so fun and one of a kind. Each one is unique. So if you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. Hopefully yours turn out really great. I know for me personally, I like a really chocolatey punch. I love the chocolate feel. So I usually will put maybe 2 in, or just kind of really pack mine with chocolate. But if you like a lighter chocolate flavor, 1 should be enough for you with 8 ounces of milk. Or I actually sometimes will only do like maybe 4 to 6 ounces of milk with mine, just to make it really chocolatey. So that's just my preference. Hopefully you find what you like. Let me know if you have questions below in the comments. I'm happy to help. And feel free to subscribe to the channel as well, and I'll bring you more tips, tricks, and tutorials. I'll see you guys next time. Bye guys.